Well, crazy things happen in the blink of an eye. I was just in an accident. A guy just about hit me head on. Hey guys, Chris here. The last time you saw this tractor, it was in 2 videos back, and it was being towed by my Kubota LX2610. The drive belt had been shredded and come loose, and so I was kind of dead in the water. I'm not at the overlook right now. I'm at my house. This is my garage, and I am on the now repaired John Deere GT235. So I tried to fix it down at the overlook. I had some bolts that were stuck, and my Milwaukee 1/4-inch impact wrench just wasn't cutting some of the bolts underneath. So I brought it home where I have all my tools, my air tools, and made short work of it. I took my little ZTR down to the overlook and got the grass cut there, brought this home. So maybe this weekend I'm going to get to switch them back out, take this back to the overlook, bring my Toro ZTR home. Well, I promised you an update on the trailer and the accident that I had, which was also in that same video. Before I do that, though, I've got some swag. I have to tell you, our last 2 sons at home are moving out. My wife and I are soon to be empty nesters. And so we're getting rid of some things, and we're going to need to replace a couple of things. One of the things we're getting rid of is dishes. So that includes many of my coffee mugs. And so I've ordered a couple. Ooh, that's right. But wait, there's more. Cheers from our man Gord, GP. So, yes sir. Oh, look at that. I'm excited. Let's try this out. Yeah, that works. Hang on. You'll notice that Ed's cup is left or right-handed. I'm right-handed, so let's try this again. Good stuff. Let's talk a little bit about what happens in an accident. And by that I mean what happens to you as a person. You know, when you're involved in any sort of stressful situation, you oftentimes just get this huge adrenaline dump. And that's designed to help you in a fight or flight situation. You get blood that rushes to your muscles. You have increased respiration capability. Your pain is subdued because your mind is focused on other things. And you have the ability to really focus. Now, in my instance, that focus oftentimes becomes a hyperfocus or tunnel vision. And I don't think I'm unusual in that. And that's kind of something that happened in my accident. I showed some clips in my previous video, and maybe we'll review some of those, that I shot immediately after the accident happened. And I'm describing in that accident exactly what I think happened. Well, crazy things happen in the blink of an eye. I was just in an accident. A guy just about hit me head on. So I ended up in the ditch. Yeah, I was coming down the road and this guy just drifted over into my lane, and it was either hit him head on or go in the ditch. So even though I did go in the ditch, he hit my trailer. He's down the street there where those other folks are. I think he's okay. There's 2 people in the car, but there's other folks dealing with him, so I'm waiting for the police. With a clearer head, and after going back and examining all the evidence, I got a few things wrong. But let me tell you what actually happened in the accident. I was driving down the road. It is a two-lane road, mostly with a double yellow line. Actually, where I was, there may have been a broken yellow line on one side, but it's a windy road, except on this spot where this accident happened, where there's about a half a mile or more of pretty straight road, small undulating hills. Driving down the road, I look ahead, I see a car coming at me that is drifting over the double yellow line. I have enough time to recognize this, realize that they're not just riding the line, they're coming over the line. I have time to react and lay on the horn. And then the car comes past me. I move the truck over. Now, of course, remember, this trailer has only got about this much space on either side of the back tires because it's wide. There is about a 3-foot ditch on my right. And between the ditch and the roadway is a small shoulder. Now, what I described in my previous video, I think, and what initially I thought had happened, was that I just dumped the trailer over in the ditch. Honestly, I didn't even realize that the two vehicles had hit one another. I thought the big bang I heard was the trailer tires dropping down in the ditch, and those were the axles just slamming down onto the roadway. And so I looked in my rearview mirror. I couldn't see the car because all I could see was a big orange tractor and my trailer going back and forth. But we came to a stop pretty much in the roadway. But because the trailer wheels and tires were so damaged, the trailer itself was over in the other lane just a little bit. I got out of the car thinking, well, certainly the car has just kept going because they had clearly enough time to recognize what was going to happen and take action and avoid the crash. And my thought as I got out of the vehicle was, I'm going to have to explain to my insurance company that, no, there really was a car. I didn't just not pay attention and drive into the ditch. I got out. I looked around. I saw the damage. I see all the damage to my rear fenders. And again, I'm hyper-focusing on exactly what I already think I know about what's happened. So I just assume, like, you see in NASCAR, when the tires blow out, it tears out the sheet metal. So I'm assuming that all the damage to the trailer is just from where the wheels and tires have come apart and they've torn everything to shreds. That's not what happened. What actually happened was I pulled over. I had my back tire probably on the shoulder of the road, but my trailer was hit and knocked into the ditch. And I went back, I took some pictures. In fact, I took a lot of pictures of the accident scene. I found bits and pieces of my taillights and where they were, and it became pretty clear that what happened was I got my truck out of the way, the car came by, and for whatever reason, I'll never know, they hit the rear fenders and the tires of the truck. The car was a Honda Civic. What I found out after the fact was the car probably went sideways and slid, and then it hit that 3-foot ditch that I mentioned, and it rolled over at least one time. I don't know really how many. I said there were 2 people in the car. It turns out there were actually 3 people in the car. I thought that there was a man driving the car, but according to them, it was a woman driving the car. At first, I started to make a big deal about that, but it became clear to me quickly that the woman was the one that had insurance. So, quite frankly, I don't care who was actually driving the car. They can claim whoever they want because she had insurance. And I'm going to talk more about insurance a little bit later on. So, I don't mean to ramble, but they hit me, knocked me into the ditch. They went out of control. The car rolled 1 or more times. According to the report that I read by the police officer, at least one person was ejected from the car. As I think I mentioned, there were no life-threatening injuries to the folks in the car. One person had a pretty deep laceration on their forehead. I think they got 15 stitches in their head. They did not go by ambulance. They declined that medical transport. Again, I don't know why, and I don't care. That's what they did. After the accident, I walked around, I saw the damage, and then I looked up the street. Now, where that car came to rest and where I came to a stop was pretty far apart, probably over 100 yards away. So when I looked up the street, again, I'm assuming that the cars just kept going. But I see a car parked on the opposite side of the street, and I'm not even sure if it's the car or if that's just a car somebody has parked on the side of the road for sale. So I walked up the street. As I approached the car, I could see that, no, this was a car that had been in an accident. All of the airbags were deployed. They were hanging down like curtains. I could not see into the car. As I approached the car, a guy banged the door open and came falling out of the driver's seat, which is why I assumed it was a man driving. Again, if the woman was driving and she was ejected, well, that would explain it. I couldn't see in the car. At that time, I only thought there was one person in the car. He was not wearing a shirt. He was wide-eyed and crazy, which I guess is understandable, but in my mind, this is a guy that's drunk or on drugs, and I really don't want to interact with him very much. Again, that I have no evidence to support that. In fact, the guy was given a sobriety test, and there was no alcohol, so take that for what it's worth. I approached this guy. I asked him if he was okay. He seemed to acknowledge that he was, but by this time there were other vehicles that were stopping at the accident site. Just looking at his car, I realized that this was a much more serious thing than I had actually thought it was. So I ran back to my truck to get my phone so I could call 911, which is what I did. And by the time I had done that and spoken to 911, there were several vehicles stopped up where they were. And so at that point, I decided, my truck is also in the middle of this road, and so I would leave them to the other folks, and that's what I did. I had no more interaction with those folks ever. The police showed up. They took a statement from both people. There seemed to be no question about who was at fault here. The other driver was issued a reckless driving ticket. And So the police officer was interested in getting the trailer out of the road. And so what we did to expedite things was I was able to back the tractor off of the trailer because it was so low to the ground because it was missing tires on one side. I was able to back the tractor down to get the weight off. And then I was able to essentially drag the trailer down the road about 100 yards to a driveway. There's a historical building right there, big farm property, and the owner had come out to see what was going on and said, it's fine if you want to bring your stuff up here on the property and, to get it out of the road. Also, I have a friend of mine who lives probably a mile or two from where this happened. I called him almost right away because, as I think I mentioned, my dog was in the truck. I had all this stuff. I felt like I just needed some extra hands. And again, I was running on an adrenaline dump. So I called him. He came up. So we were able to get the tractor off the trailer, drag the trailer down the street because I'm not worried about damaging it at this point. We got it up into the driveway. And then I had the pallet forks on the front of the tractor. So he got in my truck and was able to pull, and I got behind it and just sort of, I couldn't lift the back of the trailer fully off the ground, particularly on that kind of terrain. But, the LX2610 has not been so powerful, but it was enough to kind of get the back end up so we didn't do but so much damage to the guy's yard because he was nice enough to let us put the trailer up in his yard. The trailer was totaled. Both of the axles were damaged. Both wheels on the left side were damaged. There was probably there may have been wheel damage on the right side as well. All of the leaf springs on the left side were destroyed. At least one set of leaf springs on the right side was damaged. But also, I have a photograph that I supplied to the insurance company that I took. And if you look at it, in fact, I put some horizontal lines on there so that they could see it. But you can see where literally the entire trailer has flexed. And there was some metal that was buckled. And so, yeah, it was totaled. All right. This trailer is exactly what I had before, really. It is a 20-foot car hauler. It is a Dovetail, so the deck is 18 feet plus the 2-foot Dovetail. I got it at the same place I got the last one. So all the specs are the same. The cost of this trailer had gone up about $1,000 since I got the last one last October or November. Again, this trailer did not come with a toolbox. This is the one that was on the other trailer. I pulled it off. Also, I pulled the breakaway, the brake switch off of the other trailer and just wired it back into here. On my other trailer, my backup lights were destroyed, and so these are new lights, but I have wired the reverse lights back in, and so I have those. One of the things that was different about this trailer compared to the other one was the other one came and it had some pinstriping on it, and well, I kind of missed it. So this is not as fancy as what I had before. I was going to put the red pinstriping on here like they had on the other one, and then a friend pointed out to me that I ought to be putting orange pinstripes on here because it's hauling a Kubota, and of course he was absolutely right. So that's what I did. Also, the red and white reflective tape that you see on here, actually I had purchased to put on the other trailer and just hadn't gotten it on there yet. So given the fact that somebody plowed into the other trailer, I just thought, well, maybe I'll just go ahead and use it. So I didn't have to buy 2 rolls of the tape, so that was good. So I have that down the side here, and then I've also put a little on the back. So it is now finally roadworthy. So at this point, I'm ready to load that thing up on the trailer and get it back down to the overlook, although I got to fix my John Deere because it's in pieces where the tractor would normally live in the garage down there. I mentioned insurance, and so now I'm going to tell you something that's pretty embarrassing. A blunder that I made, and I'm going to share this with you. I'm going to tell on myself. Hopefully it will help you in the future. Somewhere down the line, a long time ago, I was told that if you are towing a trailer, that your tow vehicle insurance will cover the trailer. In this case, that was not true. So I gave my insurance information to the police. I did have insurance on the truck. I submitted the claim to my insurance company, which they began to process. But it wasn't until the insurance adjuster went out, found the trailer, found out that there was a VIN number on there, that he then reported back that this is not insured by us, this is not our problem. Now, I was very fortunate that this was not my fault. And so I was able to deal directly with the other insurance company, and we received a satisfactory settlement. I was able to buy a new trailer, and all my expenses for that were covered, basically. I didn't have some expenses that some people would have as far as towing and storage and all those things, which could have made it more expensive. But, you know, I wasn't interested in making money. I just wanted a new trailer. But in talking to my insurance company, what I found was that you have liability insurance on your trailer if you're towing it, according to the insurance agent that I spoke to. So if I sideswipe somebody pulling that trailer, theoretically, I have liability coverage. But because this was collision damage, I had no coverage at all, and they didn't really have any interest in doing much about it at all. So they were not going to advocate for me for a vehicle that was apparently not insured by them. I have a new trailer, and it is insured. Don't do what I did. Don't assume the wrong thing, or you may find yourself in a real predicament. If something had happened and my trailer had broken loose and the trailer had been destroyed and my tractor damaged through my own fault, I'd have just been out of luck. So, lesson learned. I do want to talk a little bit about safety and strapping down your load on your trailer and balancing things out. This could have been a whole lot worse, the accident. And I'm confident that it wasn't, because I managed to, either by skill or accident, do a couple of things right. Little story. I had a friend of mine. He is deceased now. Really good guy, family man, had several kids. One of them was special needs, and he had his own company, an excavating company. He worked hard. He built the business up. It was successful. He spent hundreds of hours a year working as a volunteer for all sorts of charities. Really good guy. And one day, and this was years ago, he was driving down the road hauling his bulldozer on a trailer, something he had done hundreds of times before. But in fact, I believe it was on the same road as my accident. But he made a mistake, and as he drove down the road, his load shifted, and the bulldozer he was hauling came off his trailer. The bulldozer landed on a vehicle, and there was a fatality in that car. You know, I'm not excusing what he did, but I know he was a good man, and it was just a mistake, and all humans make them. But he never got over it. He understandably, he got sued, he lost his business, he gave that up, and it was just terrible all around. But I've never forgotten that. And so I take great care when I'm tying down this tractor on this trailer. I think about that every time I cinch that thing down. I'm very careful. In fact, I talked in my first trailer video about the fact that I bought a longer trailer than I need so that I could balance the weight forward and backward to try to keep the tongue weight correct and keep the load balanced over the axles. And I clearly did that based on the way that the trailer handled. I literally dropped the thing down in a ditch on the right side. It bounced back up on the road. It fishtailed slightly, but even with destroyed axles and wheels, it basically stayed straight. Also, the tractor moved almost none at all. The rear end was completely chained down. It stayed exactly where it was. The front, I use a combination of chains and also some heavy-duty straps. The straps allowed it to shift just a little, but if you look at the pictures before the accident that I took and the images right after, you can see that there was very little movement at all. So I guess my caution to you is that when you're loading those things up, you have to load them and think about them like something bad is going to happen. And you don't want your equipment coming off because you're not worried about breaking your tractor. I mean, you are, but the price can be a whole lot worse than whatever it costs to repair a tractor. So I just urge you to be extra careful when you're tying your equipment down, when you're balancing your load. I watched a great video actually just today on balancing the load on a trailer, and if I can go back and find that, I'm going to include a link to that. It's by some guys, I think, down in Australia, but they do a great job of explaining the pitfalls of not having your load balanced correctly. So anyway, I guess that's me on my soapbox. I'm thrilled to have this trailer. I'm glad that I can move my tractor around. I can get it back down to the overlook again. My tractor was out at a friend's house for about 3 weeks. He happened to live near where the accident happened, so I'm glad to have it back. And yeah, drive safe out there. I appreciate you being here, and I hope we see you next time.